Right, I said it would be a packed show, so we've got, well, 4 guests on today. My second guest, though, is Geoff Thompson of Geoff Buys Cars. Welcome back to the Freeman Report, Geoff.
Hello, good to be back.
Yeah, great to have you back. Now, listen, I was looking at your X account this morning, and I don't know whether you've noticed, but you've got 6,666 followers, 6,666. It might be 1 or 2 different by now, but is that a sign, Geoff?
I tell you what, that's the second numerology thing that has happened to me today. Yesterday, I launched a second YouTube channel called Adventures with Geoff, right? And it's a channel to put on all of the more fun things, you know, because my channel now deals with some pretty big stuff. And I wanted somewhere to put the adventures. And my first video, someone commented saying, Geoff, did you realize your first video is 11 minutes, 11 seconds, 11:11? So that's the second time that has happened in 24 hours. So there we go. Yeah, 66666 followers on X. No, I didn't realize that.
I had to mention it just because it's just one of those things, isn't it? That, well, for me anyway, I'm that kind of person. I spot those things. Now, obviously, you've got 125,000 subscribers on YouTube, and now you're venturing into Substack. And I did read your article this morning. So tell us about that article that you've written on Substack.
So I did a collaboration video some time ago. I went on Doc Malik's podcast and he was telling me all about Substack and how it works. And I thought, you know what? I used to, during the Corona days, before the channel was big, I used to write a lot and post it on Facebook. And these days with censorship and everything, there's certain things that you can't get away with putting places. So I thought I'd launch a Substack and see if I can regurgitate some of my old Corona writings and put some fresh stuff on there as well. And then the perfect opportunity presented itself because I can't remember what it was, something to do with pride or trans or rainbows or flags or something like that. And I wrote a rather lengthy piece, which I think you've read, and I put it up on my Substack. And it's the sort of content that you can't get away with on YouTube, but that was very popular.
Can I just ask, did Doc Malik try and convince you to go on Substack?
Not really, no. I mean, Substack's something that I've been aware of for a while, but I've never really had the time or known how to use it. But I got to admit, as the YouTube channel is getting bigger and people are saying to me, Geoff, I've been unsubscribed. Geoff, I'm not getting any notifications. Geoff, I don't see your videos in my feed anymore. I'm sort of starting to think about self-defense a little bit, and it's kind of odd to have to say that.
Yeah, I'm only asking because he called me up the other day and he said, James, are you on Substack? And I'm like, no. You've got to get it on Substack. And I was just wondering if he's getting commission or something. That's all. Anyway, Geoff, I'm diverging here. Tell us about this article then you put up on Substack.
Well, I think it's in response to constantly seeing, and again, it's a difficult one to talk about without people shooting you down for being a bigot, but it's really not about that. I sort of firmly believe that what's happened with Pride and with the rainbow flag thing is that the whole Pride movement has been hijacked by whoever it might be who have a nefarious agenda to start normalizing things that currently in society are criminalized. And I don't think a lot of the people who are standing up for a lot of these Pride events and have been in the past, I don't think they realize that their agenda seems to have been hijacked like this. And we're starting to see it now as well. I mean, June is Pride Month, wherever that came from. But we're always seeing all of these big businesses. So, you know, just as I was waiting to go on in the green room there, I'm scanning through my phone and John Lewis and Waitrose are advertising on my Facebook and their logo is now a rainbow flag, as is British Airways, as is all of these other different organizations. And you've got to think, well, where is this big push coming from? Because it wasn't always the case. And it seems to me like we're moving in a direction that I don't really want to see society move. Now, I don't really care if you're gay or lesbian or transsexual or whatever. I just don't really see that there needs to be this massive push to tell everybody about it all of the time. And I think people are starting to get a little bit sick of it. Now, you're always going to get some people in the comments that will say, oh, well, you're a bigot. Well, bigot is just like being able to shout racist or nationalist, or it's just another one of those words that allow you to shut people down instantly without debate. Now, I've got followers who are gay, lesbian, trans, and I've had many people email me saying, do you know what, Geoff, you're actually right about this. And I think I've probably jumped in a bit too soon there. Let me backtrack a little bit. Where I started getting involved with talking about some of this on my channel is in the UK, we have the governing body of motorsport. They're called Motorsport UK. They launched a new initiative to get young girls inspired into motorsport. So we're talking like 9 to 11-year-old girls. They're trying to get them to get interested in motorsport and in the motorsport industry. So they chose a new ambassador to be the ambassador for young girls in motorsport. And they chose a bloke who would transition to be a woman in his 40s. And there's a number of different things that you can say about that. The first one of which is that is horrendously offensive to women, because there's some fantastic women in motorsport that are very well known. And it just seemed wholly inappropriate to me. So I contacted Motorsport UK to see if they wanted to talk about it, and they didn't. So I sort of made a video about it, which is why, again, people say, why are you getting involved with this? And that was my connection to it.
Yeah, UN Women, there's a United Nations organization, their champion for women that they chose to represent the UK. And if you think there must be, I guess, adults, I don't know, 20 to 25 million adult women in the UK, and they chose a trans woman to represent, which I just think, again, is, it's really insulting. I think, to women. So yeah, that's very, very worrying, and particularly to 9 to 11-year-old girls as well. What are they doing pushing this ideology? But Geoff, no, I think you're absolutely right with the whole pride thing. And I've had people on the show such as James Dreyfus, who's openly gay. And, there's lots of people, he talks about lots of people within his community, the gay, lesbian and bi, that's what it used to be, community, who are actually appalled at what is going on at the moment. I'm wondering, if there should be an organization, a movement actually of gay, of gay and lesbian people who push back against this, to highlight the fact that it has been captured. Because I think you're right. I think the general public, a lot of people who, it's the same with headlines. They read the headlines in the papers, but they don't really understand all the detail. They see all this pride stuff and they see it packaged up as inclusive and diversity and all this, when it's anything but inclusive, because it excludes the majority of the population. And they just go along with it because they think it's all about including these marginalized people, when actually these days, I don't think people really care, do they, what people's sexuality are? I don't get the impression that people are really against it. And the irony is, and tell me if you agree with this, is ramming this stuff down people's throats and, having Oxford Street and whatever with all these flags. I think this is actually increasing discrimination and hate towards that community, because people are just fed up with being told that, grown men can go into women's spaces, that grown men are disrupting women's sport and all of that. What's your thoughts on that, Geoff? Do you think that is the case?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, and again, it's a pretty sensitive one because it's a difficult one to talk about without alienating, people. But the key thing is, for most older people, the older generations, if you talk about, there's the concept of trans story hour, right, which came across from the USA, came into the UK, and the idea is that it's a trans person dressed up reading stories to children. Now, I think for a lot of people, when they picture that in their head, they think Dame Edna, with the big glasses, the old traditional. Because we've always had trans characters within entertainment, particularly in Britain. It has always been a part of British entertainment. But some of these drag story hours that are happening, they're far more sexualized than I think people are actually realizing. And the things that this is exposing children to is pretty shocking. And, I've got young kids, and everything that I do will always be to defend the innocence of children. I just don't see the need that children need to be exposed to this stuff. The second part of what you said there was, I've totally forgotten, but now there was something there that will come back to me in a minute. But yeah, that's the thing. I don't think people realize what's been going on in this drag story out. And I do think, like you said, people are being pushed further and further. The point has come back to me. The reason that we've got all of this focus on pride, and you've got all this LGBTQIA+, and you've got all those things, is because if you want to get people arguing amongst themselves, you need to divide them. And the easiest way to divide them is first give them a label. So if you've got LGBTQIA, then suddenly you've got all those people that identify as those certain things. Whereas if we were to strip it back to basics and say, I'm a human, you're a human, I don't really care what you're into so long as you're not harming anyone, you don't care what I'm into, we should all get along. Instead, we've suddenly got all these labels that come around, and now everybody's fighting against everyone about who's what and what they said and who said that to who, when really we're all just humans and we should be working together for the better of mankind, not arguing about who's got what and who likes to do what with their thing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not discriminatory at all about people. I've had trans friends, I've had gay friends, and I just don't see the difference. It's another person. It doesn't bother me what people do in their spare time, but I don't like it pushed in my face. And Geoff, have you got so you've got kids? Have you got both sexes or?
I got two boys. My boys are 7 and 11. And we are just at the stage now. I mean, we're in quite a lucky position. We go to a pretty rural primary school where everybody knows everybody, and you can kind of keep an eye on what's going on in the classroom. Whereas there's a lot of schools that are having this agenda, rolled out across the curriculum. And I don't think the parents are really aware of what is going on in these lessons. And even my 7-year-old said to me the other day, and he was really embarrassed about asking me this question. He was talking about men being able to have children, and I was just like, "Hang on a minute, what has been going on that you're asking me that?" And I just feel like, particularly with primary schools, just let the kids be kids. I mean, all they want to do is go out in the playground and run around with their mates. The last thing they want to be doing is having lessons about there being 43 different genders, and there's certain things that you can do with a part of your body that you haven't even discovered yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very traditional. I've got my daughter is 11, and she's going through a phase at the moment where she wants to wear makeup and all of this stuff. But, I just, as long as I can, I will try and let her be a kid. She's 11 years old. I don't want her being influenced by all of this stuff, even to the extent, she was talking about Taylor Swift yesterday. I was like, started rolling my eyes, and she was like, "Daddy, she's brilliant." And I was just like, even my 15-year-old boy, he was just like, no, she's not. But yeah, it is quite scary as an adult, isn't it? Because it's so all consuming, I think, this thing, because we've seen, in the pop culture now, it's being pushed, as you said, with all these corporations. And, we know that is not all about inclusivity and diversity. It's being pushed by things like ESG, which is environment, social and governance, which is basically where corporations, in order to get capital from the big, the Black Rocks and whatever, they need to have an ESG score, and they get that by doing all of this stuff. So it's very, very insidious, I think, where all this stuff is coming from. Geoff, we have run out of time because sorry, no, go on, have a final say.
With all of these things, if it looks like a grassroots organization, you have to track back up the pyramid to find out where the push is coming from. And isn't it hilarious that you're a news channel, I'm a car channel, and we're talking about this, and we really don't want to be talking about this, but it keeps pushing us, doesn't it? It keeps pushing. I don't want to talk about this. I want to talk about Volvos.
And Geoff, I'll tell you what, are you into motorbikes as well?
Not so much. I think I'd kill myself if I had a motorbike.
Don't say that, because I've just bought myself a big one. But next time you come on, we won't talk about transgenderism. We will talk about the motorsport, motor cars. I'd love to have a conversation with you about all that. But Geoff Thompson, ladies and gentlemen, of Geoff Buys Cars, thank you very much for coming on the Freeman Report again, Geoff. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone.